So I'm having baby number 2. I'm trying to take advantage of the time that I have before she is born to bake. I feel like she might come early because she was born at 39 weeks and 2 days. So we'll see when baby number 2 wants to make her entrance into this world. Today is day 1 of maternity leave, and I know I have to bake. Somebody that I absolutely love and trust with any recipe that she posts is Claire Saffitz. Basically, she posted this video about making hoagie rolls and a chopped cheese, and hoagie rolls are something that we usually get when we want to make sandwiches at home and stuff, so I knew that I had to make this as soon as she posted it. The thing is, I originally planned to make it on the weekend, but I was too tired. And then so I was like, okay, I'll just make it during the week once I start my maternity leave. But we planned to do it on Wednesday, but that's Ash Wednesday, so we can't eat meat. So I had to move this up a day earlier, which is totally fine. Another thing was I was going to make this starting last night, but I just was not feeling that great because I ate too much for dinner. She said it's doable to make in a day, but it benefits from an overnight ferment. So we're just not gonna do the overnight ferment. Oh yeah, those are Nunu's old clothes. We're getting it ready so baby sister can wear them. Does Nunu eat? Oh yeah. You know it's crazy. We finish each other's sandwiches. Pretty golden. It's pretty good. They stayed pretty much the same size. One of them felt really bubbly, so I feel like it might be overproofed. No, that's edible. Sure. Yeah. I think these rolls are a little small, and I don't think more proofing or more fermenting would have fixed that. So the recipe said we do 4-ounce rolls or 4-ounce balls of dough. So next time we're gonna try 8. Cheers. You gotta bake it again. So I went kind of ham over the next week with my baking, making something almost every single day. And usually when we make Indian food, I'll make Claire Saffitz's flatbread recipe, but this time I tried naan. However, it did not turn out that great. It was not very tasty and it was kind of hard. I think my problem was probably the pan not being too hot, because with naans and pita breads, and I think tortillas to a certain extent, how you get them to puff up a little bit is the pan has to be so hot that it creates steam inside the bread, and that's what causes it to rise a little bit. So here these just were like flatbreads and were pretty flat and not puffy or crispy at all. So I have to redemption bake this. Then I made 2 sets of baguettes. I didn't even really document it, but both of them were great, except for the bottoms of the baguettes stuck to the baguette tray. So I have to figure out why that is. I think it might be because I didn't place a tray underneath the baguette tray, / they were maybe underbaked. I attempted the hoagies again, trying to make them bigger, incorporating 2 things from my previous attempt. So first was doing the overnight ferment that Claire recommended, so that helps with developing the flavor so it tastes better. And then the second thing was making them bigger. I'm gonna split these into 3 because last time the hoagies were a bit small. So I'm just gonna do 3 hoagies. They look fluffier. So one of my favorite parts of baking, which could also be a scary thing, is seeing how the bread turns out, seeing how it started when you put it in the oven and then how it ended, what the result is, because it's totally different. But that can be kind of because you just kind of trust the process at this point of putting it in the oven. But, oh, definitely not enough space between them, but this looks pretty good. I feel like you can also kind of see where I like pieced together some of the dough, so I'm curious to see how that'll look when we cut it open.
Are you happy?
It makes Nunu happy? That's good. So today I will be making croissants for the first time. This was one of the things that I wanted to do while on maternity leave. I have very low expectations, but I feel like I'm ready to give it a try. It's also exciting because it's my first difficulty 5, very challenging recipe that I'm tackling in Dessert Person. And hopefully it goes well. You'll all join me on this journey to see if I can make croissants. So I just took the butter block out in a video where Claire made croissants with the New York Times YouTube channel. She said it should be like bendy enough. So I have to roll the dough out so it's about an 8-inch square, since the butter is a 7-inch square. Good morning, 6:51 a.m. We slept kind of late last night because we were watching Severance and The White Lotus and Pop Culture Jeopardy. I actually thought I'd sleep in a little bit later, but I was just too excited. I was thinking of croissants. Go. Oh my gosh, there's butter like everywhere. Ah! But bro, the layers are there. The leftover wonky ones are in the toaster oven. But bruh, look, they look like croissants. There's so much butter like pooling, and it's probably because I let the butter get too warm. Da 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 da. Wow, there's so much butter, but pretty happy with this first attempt. But bro, look, oh my gosh, look at that. Layers and they're puffy. Okay, screw that. I think you should have used a bread knife. Hey, not bad. So that is kind of bad. It shouldn't be that dense because the butter, so mine melted out. The butter is supposed to like stay in between each layer of dough. And then that moisture in the butter, like when it bakes, will help kind of create steam and therefore the pockets and create that open, airy crumb. But just wait to see my reaction to how it tastes.
Nice.
Yeah. Ready?
Feels like a web.
Bro.
Isn't that good?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever had a croissant so like fluffy.
It's still pretty good.
So I think I just felt a Braxton Hicks contraction. My belly was like pretty hard when I was rubbing it up and down like a few minutes ago. And now it's soft again. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I wanted to go over what my birth plan was while I'm making these baguettes. My plan was I wanted an unmedicated birth like I had for my first baby, which means basically like no epidural. And you're probably wondering, why would you want to do that? Because it sounds kind of crazy. Isn't birth painful? I think just after I was researching more about like giving birth and hearing birth stories and things like that, there are a lot of times where like unexpected things occur. And a big thing for me was I wanted to be able to move around. And if you had an epidural, basically like you can't walk or you have very limited mobility. And I learned that the benefits to be able to move around are you can get in different positions, which can help get the baby in a different position. It can help relieve pain that you're experiencing during some contractions. It can also help with progressing labor. Also, because I'm able to move around more, there's less chance for medical interventions. And that's what I wanted to avoid if possible. And so with my first, I had a water birth, so that was my preference since it was such a great experience. I didn't really expect that to happen, but it did, and thankfully it did. And water is also like a natural way to kind of help relieve some of the pain. But the thing is, where I had my first baby, that birth center closed, so I had to find a different birth center or place to give birth, and so thankfully I found another one that allowed water births. So that was the plan. Water birth, hopefully, definitely unmedicated. But of course, a birth plan is just a plan. And so you need to expect that things won't always go to plan. I think I'm feeling contractions. It's still very early, but I felt one of the earlier ones yesterday, a little more than 24 hours ago when I went to Safeway with my mom. Because I've been feeling like the baby move lower, or sometimes the baby moves around, but now the feeling is like kind of like a menstrual cramp and not so much the baby like wiggling around as much. Yeah, I just felt it a couple times while we were out. And so now we're like getting things more ready. So like putting the car seat in the car. I'm actually like getting my bag together. I started it, but now I'm like mostly putting things in there. Okay, so we're within a week of the due date and I still have this much left to bake. So the next thing that I wanted to bake were Samoas because Anthony requested that a while back when I bought Samoas from the Girl Scouts at the grocery store. And so I was like, okay, I need to make this before the baby arrives, and this was like cutting it kind of close. So I found this recipe from Joshua Weissman's YouTube channel and decided to follow it. I split my baking into 2 days. So the first day was for making the dough, and then I let that rest in the fridge overnight. And Joshua recommends at least resting it, I think, for a couple of hours just so it can develop some more flavor. And then the second day was for like assembling the cookies and then of course enjoying them. So yeah, right now before I start baking all these sweets that I have planned, I'm just feeding my sourdough starter. Because after making all of my previous videos and showing my previous attempts at bagels, I think my sourdough bagel
was the closest I could get to Mount Bagel level, which is like my goal, because I love that place. I've just been feeding my sourdough starter over the past few days, because hopefully, assuming baby hasn't come or won't come yet, I'm planning to make sourdough bagels for Saturday morning, and today is Thursday.
Another thing with this recipe was it's the first time that I followed a Joshua Weissman recipe, and I'm always a little bit hesitant when I follow a recipe from somebody new, which is why usually I stick to like Claire Saffit's recipes or Brian Lagerstrom recipes, because I know that the instructions that they give are clear for a beginner baker. And I'm always a little hesitant because sometimes like the instructions aren't written in the best way for beginner bakers, because a lot of baking is like learning how to read the dough or understanding what it looks like when cream is whipped to stiff peaks or medium peaks. It's just kind of like that type of experience is helpful, and writing out those indicators are helpful. And again, not all recipes contain that. But thankfully Joshua's instructions were clear, so I was able to make these cookies.
So I just had one of the mini cookies, but I didn't have enough chocolate, and they're pretty good. Or I think I've been feeling contractions. It feels like a period cramp, but what also sucks is I feel a little sicker. I haven't been feeling that great, but I thought I was getting better, and now I just feel more sick, so I don't think I'm gonna bake anymore. I'll just eat and then rest. It looks delicious. Okay. That's so good. That's so good. Oh my gosh. It's 3:45 a.m. I've been feeling contractions the past like hour or so. They woke me up in the middle of the night at like 2:40, and then I decided to start timing them.
So then I called my parents, and they were staying at an Airbnb nearby, and they made their way over. I wanted to make sure that I ate a little bit before, since I was a bit hungry, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough energy in case I was going to be giving birth in a couple of hours. But it turned out that the contractions went away shortly after this, so my parents just ended up staying over, and we continued on with the rest of the day. So the next day, I needed to make chocolate chip cookies, because with my first baby, I remember the feeling of being so tired, but then having a freshly baked chocolate chip cookie, and that was just like the best feeling ever. So that's what I wanted to make today. So my dad was at home with me, just hanging out on the couch, and I was baking the chocolate chip cookies. And then every time I'd feel a contraction, I would just kind of get through it and time it.
Bagels for baby.
Kind of book.
Bagels.
Yeah, bagels. Thanks. I was planning on making some tomorrow, but we'll see if I get there.
And you'll see here throughout my baking, I am experiencing some contractions. At this point, they weren't full uterine contractions yet. They were still just kind of like menstrual cramp feeling / like that stomach ache feeling when you have an upset stomach. But yeah, you can see I'm kind of going through them, and really, I just have to stop what I'm doing to kind of focus to be able to get through them.
Oh, you're gonna be active!
Wait, Dad, where's Mom? Noelle's gonna be an active!
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, pregnancy's been going well. I'm 16 weeks, I think, now. Baby's heart rate's going well. No other concerns from my midwife. We find out the gender for baby number 2. 1, 2.
I knew it! I knew it!
Yeah, I just got over one. What's such a good design is that you have that break in between where you can be normal. It's crazy because it's like such an intense feeling, and then after that, when it passes, you can just like talk. So after this, I put the cookie dough in the freezer so that we could bake the cookies whenever we wanted them. And I just went through the rest of the contractions off camera. I experienced a bit of back labor, so Anthony and my mom both took turns like applying counter pressure to help relieve that pain. And then I also did the Miles circuit, which helped progress labor. I threw up a couple of times, which is a good sign. And then after trying to go to bed and experiencing a few contractions there, we decided that it was time to go to the birth center. So the birth center was about 20 minutes away. We got there around the same time as the midwife, and as she was getting everything ready, including the tub where I thought that I was going to be giving birth, I felt the urge to push. So I got on all fours on the corner of the bed and delivered our baby girl right there.
So glad you're here.
Aw, yes, all of us. Baby sister. Baby sister. See? Here. But yeah, that's a pillow for baby. Pillow baby. Yeah. Pillow baby. Yeah.